It was about the transgender shooter, and they're talking about not allowing them to purchase firearms. And he was talking back and forth with the guy, and then all of a sudden I hear a pop. I see Charlie. I think it got his carotid. I just saw him grab. It looked like his neck, and there's just blood pouring out everywhere, and his eyes kind of rolled back. And at that point, I kind of looked up because it sounded like it came up from behind me up the hill. And it was just one pop. And then we all dropped to the ground. And then they told us all to run. So we all ran out.
Yeah, I'm imagining pandemonium at that point. Did you see medical personnel attend to him? And what happened after that?
By the time I looked up, he was already off. He was already out. He was already out of the tent. There were some police officers up there. There was his security. There was no metal detectors or anything for us to go through. They didn't even check our tickets.
Hello, guys. David Vose here again. Beautiful day here in beautiful paradise on Red Mesa, New Mexico. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Guys, I don't really want to do a video about this today, but I've got some new information. And I also want to start this video. Hope you're having a wonderful day, by the way. And we have every reason to believe that we're going to have a wonderful day soon. Everybody on this earth. It literally is going down, friends. We're about to see a lot of very serious things. I think we're getting close to the return of Jesus Christ. But I want to clarify something before I even begin today. Yesterday, I was telling you that I had seen 2 different videos where I didn't see any BLOOD. And I hadn't seen any others. And then all kinds of you in the comments were really upset with me. You think I'm a fool and I'm an idiot and I'm the worst man on the face. And you'd think I was the mass, ooter. But I do understand maybe some of your feelings that I was insensitive or something. Well, I do apologize for that. And as you could see, I just played a clip where there was an eyewitness that said there was BLOO. Provide the last letter for yourself. But my thought is, okay, if I had no other evidence, I might consider her testimony. I think there were others who gave the same testimony. However, a lot of people that were there, as we talked about yesterday, if this was a big orchestration with the symphony playing, and everybody playing their instrument on cue, and if it was like going to a theater, and there's this theory going around that maybe this wasn't, and I'm going to show you a great deal of evidence for that today. If it was, then obviously, and we know that some of the people that were there standing right next to him were some of his friends and people and acquaintances that he knew. If this was all set up, a theatrical spectacle, if Charlie Kirk was a Mason and this was some kind of psy-op, then it wouldn't be out of the ordinary if the original picture and film and what was caught on camera did not have any BLOOD. They could have, with modern CGI, added the BLOOD afterwards. Now, if they had done that, the only thing I know, not being an expert on CGI and how BLOO looks in situations like that, although I have seen on certain occasions, I've been in situations where I know a little bit about injuries and things. I mean, like all of us have fell down when we were children, so I know some things. And I know that the way it looks in the videos that you guys were mentioning that I finally went and looked at, where I could see the BLOO, it was just, I don't want to be graphic. I'm very sorry for this, but I have to make what I'm saying clear. You could visibly see the BLOO coming. I'm being careful how I say these words, friends. And forgive me for those of you who don't like to talk about this. And some of you think I'm being very insensitive, but please stay with me for a minute because we need to know the truth. We need to get to the bottom of this. And I assure you that I'm about to give you some very important information. You couldn't take the BLO out very easily. Maybe they could with modern CGI. I imagine they could. But you could much easier. It could have been much easier to put it in. I don't know if you guys remember the Boston BOMBING. And I remember, whenever that happened, I did videos on it. In fact, YouTube took those videos down, and it was right after that I lost my channel for a while. But I showed, there was a guy that was in a wheelchair. And the scenario, the news agencies, and everybody was saying he lost his LEG S's in the BOMB. And it was proven that this guy had been a vet and had lost his LEGs in a war, like Vietnam or something. There were tons of videos back in those days that proved all of this whole event was orchestrated. I looked into it and proved it beyond a doubt to myself. But if you'll go on the internet to try and find any of these videos, you'll not find them all, any of them. They've gotten rid of all of them. I believe they got rid of all of the past videos of all of these conspiracy people talking about things, the Sandy Hook or so forth. All of that's been scrapped because we will forget those things if we're not reminded. And when the day comes when this hits and they want to do this worldwide deception that the Bible says is going to happen, they're going to need very little proof of those kinds of things. And they're going to need a lot of present moment things that will get you to believe one thing and no other counter information that would say otherwise. They want to keep that away from us. So it's all been scrapped. And we're starting from scratch. And now YouTube allows people to talk about pretty much whatever they want, it seems, at this juncture. They've got this video that's horrid all over. You can go look at it yourself. I hadn't seen the ones that had the BLO. I saw two different ones, and they didn't have the BLO. I'm going to show you that here. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think? Do you think that I'm just not seeing it? But I'm going to show you pictures. I can't show you the clip because I don't want to put the live shot on here. You can go find it yourself. Most of the ones you're going to find probably have the BLOO. Now, the question is, could they have added it? Let me show you the pictures, just still pictures, at the moment that he was hit. And I ask you all to let me know whether you see any BLO in there. And I know that there is a little bit of, kind of blurred out the spot. However, you can't blur, and it's still white. His shirt is white. You can't really blur out that BLOO. I don't think you could. And there's no blurring out where the neck is, and it doesn't show it. Now, I'll show you that here. Here's the moment that Charlie Kirk was hit. You can see his, it does look a little blurred right up into his face, and it's blurred out all the way down into his shirt. Just a little, but you could still see the color of his skin, and where it's a shirt, you can see the color of the shirt. So they're not taking away the color. They're just, it's a little blurred just so perhaps you don't see his expression or something. So in that picture, which was the split second that he got hit, there is no BLOO that I can see. Now the next picture is a half a second later. He's slumped over pretty good, And again, there's a little blurring, but again, I see no BLOO anywhere. And yes, I do think that maybe it could be there, but we're not seeing it. Now, remember, I've seen the whole clip. I'm just showing you one small still picture of that motion video that I saw. My testimony is I saw no BLOO in this version of it. And now you might think you see some BLOO in the back on against the white where it says Turning Point USA, the white background. But that's just a red spot that's already there. It's paint. It's not his BLOO. Now, that's actually another picture. Here's another shot. Again, no BLOO. And here is a close-up, and I don't see any BLOO there. However, the testimony that the woman gave is that there was BLOO. Now, she could have been part of the circus, but all I'm saying is these pictures that I saw didn't look like there was BLOO. However, that is the other pictures that everyone else was seeing. You're just going to see 1 second of it, and I'm done. As you can see, there was BLOO in that picture, and it was visibly when he got hit. So, my conclusion is I don't know for certain, but I wanted to say I'm sorry for not doing enough investigation to have known that there are these videos showing it. But I also want to show you why I thought that and show you the video and the pictures that I saw. Whether there's any doctoring of pictures, I don't know. I can't say. That's up for you guys to decide. But let me show you some other things that are really more suspect than even that. Because it's probable that, I guess, I don't know if I had to guess whether there was BLOO or not. I would probably say, with what I know, everything else I know, I would say there probably wasn't. But that's just my opinion. And I'm not an expert as to whether they could have CGI'd it. But I will apologize to you guys because I should have seen the footage before I published it yesterday. And just let me say, let's assume that it was real. There is, however, every reason to believe that this entire thing was a setup. But that doesn't mean that Charlie Kirk wasn't sacrificed, like a 9/11 sacrifice to the devil or something. But after you see and witness the evidence that I'm going to show you today, what you're going to find is that if it was orchestrated, the man behind all of this, well, there's probably not one man behind it, of course, but the guy that's out front right now is TRUMP. And if he knew about all of this being FAKE, and if this man really did DIE, then that's the most evil, wicked thing that you could ever do, to lie to millions, no, nay, billions of people. And then on top of that, sacrifice a man's life that was a wonderful and a good man. However, when I see his wife talking and just knowing that, like the evidence we saw yesterday about him probably having a Masonic ring on and different things that we talked about yesterday, causes me to think that Charlie Kirk could have been in on this, and it could have just been his vest that exploded, and it could have been fake. BLOO. It's possible. It's even likely that they would do something like that. And if you guys think that I'm really just a silly man or even a bad man to think these things, I'm going to give you two responses. One, 9/11. How many people died? Was it 3,000 or more? And all of you, I guarantee it, all of you know that was a hoax and a psyop. Go also back a very short time to the thingy where you had to wear some kind of thingy over your mouthy. And they shut down all the mom and pops. And, well, we're not going to talk about that here today. And now I'm going to give you the other reason why you probably should rethink your faith in this government or the people that run this world. Let me show you another man that has the same feelings that I do, that you might recognize, and then you can at least realize that this is a point of view that is real, and there are sane people who are espousing it. And we have our reasons, and I will show you some of those here in this video today. But first, let me show you this clip so that you get the idea of what I'm trying to say.
Well, I had done some interviews with Charlie up until about a year and a half ago, when he no longer spoke with me because of my position on the Israeli campaign of mass murder and expulsion from Gaza. And I simply disagreed with him. I also felt very strongly from the very beginning that 7 October was allowed to happen. It was a deliberate event. I think that he changed his mind later on, but I never really reconnected with him at that point. I also know that he had $40 million in his organization's bank accounts, and a lot of that appears to have come from Israel supporters. And I've seen all of the communications back and forth about his own statements to people like, I guess, Tucker Carlson and others, expressing concern about the possibility that his donors would be angry with him because he was changing his views on what the Israelis were up to. So I think it's tragic. It's awful. But here's something else that also occurs to me. I don't think we know a great deal about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. I think that particular event was also another professional operation. Now, people said it was an assassination attempt. I don't think so, because the assassin would have put the second bullet through the president's temple. He's killed instantly, or at least after the president is shot at. Then all the material associated with him disappears. Within 24 hours, his body's cremated. We know nothing. So now we're seeing a lot of things show up on the internet. And the FBI has said something, as you pointed out. I don't believe anything the FBI says anymore. So I absolutely no confidence or faith in that institution that I once did. So I don't think we know. We have now a plane that belonged to someone named Derek Maxfield, who is a big contributor to Chabad, a major Jewish movement to try and buy up and reclaim land in places like Ukraine. And he seems to have had his personal aircraft there that suddenly takes off after the event and then turns off its transponder, which is against the law, then turns around and lands again. So people are pointing fingers at him. Is that legitimate? I don't think we know what happened then. I don't think we know what happened to RFK when he was shot. I don't think we know the whole story on what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, and I don't think we are going to know very soon what happened to Charlie.
All right, so Colonel Douglas McGregor, you've seen him on Redacted and stuff, and he's always kind of on the other side. And you think, well, he must be a good guy then. Trump probably don't like him, and Israel probably doesn't like him because he's against the genocide, And he just explained there what the opinion of Charlie Kirk was and how he was getting paid and how his views were changing, but he didn't know what to do. And he was thinking about coming out against the genocide. And perhaps they decided that they could get two birds with one stone, take him out because they were mad at him, because he broke their trust, and use him as a martyr because everything he said up to this point was Israel favorable, right? He's always been very favorable. We showed you that clip the other day where he's defending Israel to the people and everything. And he's defending political nationalism and stuff like this because Moses made a Torah and told us how to have commandments and kingdoms and laws and all of this. And he was very much for the Ten Commandments and government and nationalism and so forth. So they're going to flood the world with these videos where he's doing these engagements. And everything he said up to now, I think, was on cue and what they were telling him to say. If they really got rid of him, they're going to make him a martyr, a hero for the patriots and for nationalism, and let's make America great again. Trump's going to give him all the awards, and they're going to have his picture up in every library and every school and every government building, and he's going to become a national hero, kind of like Martin Luther King. But there is another piece of information that has come out that, to me, cinches it. It cinches it. There is no way, this cannot be a coincidence. If you guys will remember, before this happened, about, less than a month before, on August the 27th, we had that event where a transgender was the shooter. And it was at a school. And we were all saying, oh, this is just the beginning. Or I was saying it, and I think others were saying it, that it's orchestrated events to get public opinion against the transgender movement, saying they're unstable, they're crazy, and we have to stop this. And they needed public opinion to change. And if they did a few of these kinds of things, they could change public opinion. Now remember, they want to kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone. So this guy, they could have several issues. Because he got up and talked about everything. So they could use him for any issue, because he was always on the side of Trump on all of his issues. But the big one that you might say was really big, other than supporting Israel, is the transgender thing. He didn't agree with that. Charlie Kirk didn't. He was literally talking about the transgender shooting situation the moment the assassin pulled the trigger. And I'm going to show you a clip right here that's just, if you don't see the connection, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to help you see it. But I think most people will see it right away. Let me show you what I'm saying.
I do want to get back to the latest here on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk as we continue to learn new details here. Brooke Singman over at Fox Digital posting this a short time ago saying, exclusive, Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson lived with his transgender partner, according to sources. The individual, who is a male transitioning to a female, is fully cooperating with the FBI. Sources tell me the FBI had texts and other communications between Robinson and the individual that helped FBI authorities solidify that Robinson was indeed the shooter. Again, Robinson has been named the suspect and is in custody. The last question Charlie Kirk answered before he was murdered was, quote, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Now, guys, I just don't think that coincidences that big could happen. And in fact, I don't believe in coincidences at all. I really don't. Everything happens for a reason. But even if there were coincidences, they, mathematically, they wouldn't happen this frequently in an event like this. Or it seems like all the events are on the side of promoting whatever political issue that they have at the time. If you can't see that, I just don't know what to tell you. But this is always the case. And in this case, now just 3 weeks apart, 2 or 3 weeks apart, we've got these two events. Both have to do with transgender shooting people or going crazy, or I guess people weren't affected as much by the little children in the school. It didn't break their heart very much. So they needed to have a guy that they could make a hero, a beloved man who was on television doing all of these things. I mean, it's perfect if you think about it, to make him the martyr, because he's got all these things. And the guy said he had $40 million to do these things. He's being financed by the far left and speaking about the far right. Isn't that interesting? Because most of the things that's going on with the far left is being financed by the Israeli intelligence. You've got to know this. This is the Hegelian dialectic. They brought in Biden and Pelosi and corrupted and destroyed our country and rioted and everything, just to make everybody so angry. And then they brought in Trump so they could use that to catapult to a martial law situation where now Trump's running around with troops, sending people, oh, they're all terrorists. Didn't you think it was really odd and strange for the last how many years where somehow there were all these terrorists coming into the country, they were paying them, putting them up in hotels, and none of this made any sense. It was just complete nonsense that we elected a man that was a bumbling idiot falling off the stage and a drunk Speaker of the House and a bald-headed weirdo trying to impeach Trump 2 times, and all of that nonsense that went on just so that they could piss everybody off and then bring in Trump. And now this is what they're doing, rounding people up, no due process, and his next goal is to support Israel and get rid of the transgenders and bring in the Noahide laws, friends. This is it. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And so some of you might look at that evidence that I just gave. Maybe you didn't see the other 2 videos I've done on this. You might say, well, come on, Dave. That ain't enough to make me think it's, everything's not a conspiracy, Dave, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but think about this now. Think about it. We just had a shooting with the president, and the guy was talking about that Colonel, the guy that's always on redacted, that's against the Israel government, and he's for the Ukrainians, I guess. He's kind of likes Putin or something. And by the way, if you think that guy's the good guy, nah, all of them are working. They got controlled opposition everywhere. They're wanting us to talk about this. They're letting me talk about Israel. They're letting everybody show this footage of Charlie Kirk dying over and over and over and over, and people's little children are seeing it live, I guess. Why? Because they want outrage. They want outrage. And this is going to help them pass laws against transgenderism. And a lot of you are saying, good, I don't want transgenders in this world, or I don't want doctors mutilating children. I get it. But you don't lie to people ever. You don't sacrifice a human being to get things done. And by the way, this country wouldn't have ever asked for anything like, oh, please, there's a big movement, grassroots movement, where everybody wants to take their children and whack off their wee-wees. Please. No, that was CIA orchestrated so that they could use it as a ploy to do other bad things to us later on that, get public support for having martial law. The riots. Why would they let that happen? What kind of idiots would want to burn down our cities? Well, it may have gotten 2 birds with one stone there too, because if you take out these mom and pop stores, and bust their windows and harass them for a while, then that means all the business goes to the billionaires, and the Walmarts, right? So that was that. And plus, it got people to really hate liberals and hate these little spoiled transgenders running around throwing rocks through the windows. And I'm sure nobody should have liked it, but the point is it's not real. They're just working you up. And so, remember with the assassination attempt on the president, it just got his ear, coinkydinky. The shooter was prostrate on a building. There was nobody stopping him. He just was allowed to sit there and shoot. And it was like, oh, it was incompetence. Same crap going on right now. There's this guy up there. Everybody's like, what's this guy on the roof? And nobody stops him. But think about this too. There was no ambulance there. We talked about that in the video yesterday. There's no ambulance. And every event like that, where thousands of people are going to be there, like it with circuses that come to town or whatever, there has to be an ambulance waiting in case somebody gets hurt. So the guy gets shot, and immediately he's whisked away by some unidentified individuals, unidentified to me, I don't know who it was. They grab him, I guess 6 different individuals, grab him, throw him into a black, looks like an FBI cruiser, suburban, whatever, I don't know, armored vehicle or something. It looks like a black Suburban. Now, where'd they get the black Suburban? Who was this? Well, the FBI they had jurisdiction over this. Why? Well, why would this little event where Charlie Kirk's talking to some kids at a school campus or whatever he was doing, why should that be under the jurisdiction of the FBI? Why did this go boom? Worldwide attention. It almost seems like they set it up with no ambulance, no doctors present, or any way to save the man's life. And remember, the guy had armor on. There's all these reports that he thought they were going to kill him. Maybe they didn't, or maybe he didn't think they were going to kill him. Maybe if he is a Mason, we talked about the ring on his finger, that's a Masonic hinge ring. If he was a Mason, and it's been reported that he is, that he's probably in on the plot. His wife and kids probably got millions to go along with this. And by the way, he's going to become a god now. There probably have statues of him everywhere. And he's probably living down in the tunnel on Epstein Island, smoking cigars and drinking margaritas with Epstein. He's got a great life. And look at all these people. They're all in on it except for us. Lady Gaga's going down underground doing concerts for these Bavarians under Salt Lake City, right? Under the little city of Tool, there's this underground city. It extends all the way underground under Salt Lake City, Murray. And that whole area is underground city. It's supposed to be UFO technology and aliens down there. They have parties and all these people that are in this group that are under oath that can never lie. They go down there to their conventions, like Jehovah's Witnesses. They have their 3 conventions every year. That's what Jehovah commands, is that you must assemble 3 times in a year. And they all go down there and they all know what's going on. And we're the Gentiles, and the Bible itself says that you can deceive the Gentiles. They're just the dogs. You can kill them, you can manipulate them, you can lie. They have to follow their own laws. So, it looks like it was set up, and if it was, in my own heart, I would side with the concept, if I had to bet on it, that Charlie Kirk was fully aware that he was wearing a vest that was going to pop, and then he would fall backwards, and it would squirt something on him, and they'd whisk him away, and he would go underground with Epstein and drink margaritas for the rest of his life. And his wife and children will go and visit him underground when they have their, they probably live most of their life underground anyway, these guys, right? They've got everything down there. And they take little children and bring them down there, and whatever they're doing, the little pedophiles that are running the world, they have their parties and all of their things they're doing. I have heard so many reports of people that were sort of recruited or kidnapped and taken down below to become servants for the elite. I do believe there are underground cities. I've shown you pictures of them, friends. So I think the whole thing's a hoax. And if you don't think I'm right, I ask you to at least understand my point of view. That's what I think. And if I'm wrong and you think I'm wrong, please prove me wrong. But don't hate me because I believe this. I believe this because I love my family and I love all of you. And I am concerned for this country and for the world because of the fact that so many millions and billions of people are being completely psyoped by this MK Ultra mind control, this universal worldwide psyop that's going on, that the Bible predicted would go on. I know a lot of you don't believe in the Bible, so you're like, you stupid Bible thumper. Well, I am a Bible thumper, I guess, if you want to call it that, because I have investigated it and you haven't. I've done far more research on ancient scriptures and the Great Pyramids and all the ancient teachings and the esoteric wisdom and all the temples and the rituals and rites and the mysteries and what they mean. And if you do that research as I have, you will know that this is all real and that we're all in a classroom and this is all being orchestrated. No matter what you do, you're an immortal soul, and every soul is going to eventually get their white robes and graduate. But as human beings, in order to become like deity, we have to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and that's just the way it is. We have to have faith and live by faith, and we have to have integrity and endurance to get through this time of trouble. And we have to come to a point where we don't have any fear, where we don't live our life in fear, but we love everybody and forgive everybody and have this knowledge and come to the understanding that we're all children of the Lord, and all of this is evil is being orchestrated to lure, to test you. The devil's the tester, the tempter. And why is he tempting and testing you? Because you need to overcome that temptation and let go of the fear. Love casts out all fear. Now, I don't want to talk too much more about that here, but that's why this is all going on. Now, let me turn to another corroborating piece of evidence that this was all orchestrated. And this is pretty good evidence, friends. Somebody in the comments, that's where I got this, and then I looked it up. Somebody in the comments yesterday said that there was a book published about the life of Charlie Kirk, or the shooting of Charlie Kirk, and it was published on the 9th, and he was murdered on the 10th. And it seems like that would be impossible. So I thought, well, that's weird, because I've seen things like that before. This has happened before when they orchestrate these things, you know. I don't know if you guys remember in the Boston bombings, there were articles in the newspaper recruiting people to be actors. Actors, friends. But, you know, they probably don't like it if I tell you the guys these kind of things. It's probably why I'm shadow banned. So I won't say much more about that. But let me show you the evidence that there was a book literally published, and supposedly it was published on the 9th, a day before the event happened, not only discussing Charlie Kirk dying and being shot, but the aftermath. Take a look at this. So what day was Charlie Kirk assassinated? Well, everybody knows, but I'm just going to show you here. September the 10th, 2025. Now, look at this. September the 9th. This is X, the old Twitter. September 9th, 2025. This is the publication date for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. A comprehensive account of the Utah Valley University attack. The aftermath and America's response by Anastasia J. Casey, Kindle edition. As listed in Amazon's product details, the book covers the shooting incident from September 10th, 2025, indicating it was rushed to market shortly before or on the day of the event. For the other title, The Charlie Kirk Shooting, A Nation on Edge by Casey D. Paris, Kindle edition, no explicit publication date is available from Amazon listings, but it similarly addresses the same recent event and was likely published around the same time. To determine whether the shooting of Charlie Kirk, a comprehensive account of the Utah Valley University attack, the aftermath, the America's response by Anastasia J. Casey, was published before or after the shooting of Charlie Kirk on September the 10th, 2025, let's verify the details. The shooting incident occurred on September 10th, 2025 at Utah Valley University. The Amazon listing for the Kindle edition of the book states a publication date of September the 9th, 2025. This suggests the book was published before the shooting by 1 day, but it is a Kindle book, and the publisher cannot backdate the date. In order for a Kindle book to be published, it first reviewed by someone at Amazon, and the publish date on Amazon's page is not chosen by the author or the publisher. The book is taken down, but the page was saved by archive. Author control over dates. Authors can upload a manuscript and schedule a future release date up to a year in advance. The book remains in draft status until the scheduled date, at which point it enters Amazon's review process if not already reviewed. For ebooks like this Kindle edition, authors set the publication date during setup, and Amazon honors it as the official release. Backdating, setting a past date is not allowed. Dates must be current or future. Well, it says Amazon says it was a glitch, confirming to Mashable that the book was published after the shooting. Due to a technical issue, the date of publication had been displayed for this title while it was briefly listed was incorrect, and we apologize for any confusion this may have caused. The title was published late in the afternoon on September 10th, and Amazon spokesperson told Mashable the title in question is no longer available for sale. Well, I think that's just a likely story. Even if it was published September 10th in the afternoon, what, 2-3 hours after he was shot? Okay, how did he write it and get it published 2 or 3 hours later? You can't write a book in an hour and then have it, these things take 72 hours to approve, usually. This doesn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden, we've got a conspiracy, just like we've had many other times. Somebody claims there was a book written 100 years ago about Elon and somebody else's doesn't really exist. Or, this is getting ridiculous. And perhaps Amazon itself is doing it. Perhaps there's a conspiracy. Perhaps this is a clue that this was all planned and orchestrated. And this is just like a little clue. I asked AI, who is Anastasia J. Casey? First of all, Anastasia sounds like a fictional name to me anyway. And the fact that there was 2 books published, both had Casey in it, and they were both published the same day, and both of them are about the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Both of the authors had Casey in it. I think whoever wrote one wrote the other. And it says Anastasia J. Casey is the name attributed to the author of a book about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The book, titled The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, a comprehensive account of the Utah Valley University attack, the aftermath, and America's response, appeared briefly on Amazon shortly after Kirk was shot and killed on September 10, 2025. However, reports indicate that Anastasia J. Casey is likely not a real person. A fictional author, experts believe the name is a fictitious pseudonym and that the book was written using artificial intelligence, and this is supported by the fact that no prior writing history has been found for anyone named Anastasia J. Casey. Controversial publication timeline. The initial Amazon listing for the book displayed a publication date of September the 9th, 2025, 1 day before Kirk was killed. Amazon later stated that this was a technical error and that the book was published on September 10th, after the shooting. The book has since been removed from the platform. See, the reason why that can't be is because when you go on there to have a book published, you have to put a date. And if it's the date before a prior date, they won't allow you that date. You cannot backdate a book on Amazon. I mean, Amazon's been doing books for a long time. They know that they can't have errors in the date. And it's not like a person comes and reviews it and says, uh-oh, you put the wrong date. The computer will not let you put September 9th if you're publishing it on September 10th. Not only that, it takes 72 hours for them to approve a book. And if it was rushed through, then it was done for a reason. Amazon doesn't usually do that. And now Amazon's saying it was an error. But like I said, it can't be. The book has since been removed from the platform. Now listen, anything could be. This could be a complete hoax, and maybe there never was a book. And they're just, because I am not going to go onto Amazon, try to look up the book and see if it was there or whatever. And if somebody does do it, they'll have it on a TikTok somewhere and you'll never see it. So this could just be some more chaos around it, more conspiracy stuff that somebody high up is raising, so that we'll get to a point where we won't believe anything. Nobody in this country is going to believe anything, including that Jesus Christ is a real person and is coming to save you. And you will feel like it'd be like a little child in an amusement park, and he's going down through the maze, and every time he takes a step, somebody smacks him in the head. And then, he gets confused and wanders around, starts crying. They want you to start becoming delusional and have a nervous breakdown and give up on life and die. That's why all of this is happening, friends. The book has since been removed from the platform. Conspiracy theories, the mysterious timing and circumstances have led to widespread online speculation and conspiracy theories about the book's origin. This is obvious that, if there was some scenario where a book could be published in the afternoon, just 2 or 3 hours after Kirk is shot, how could the book be about the shooting of Charlie Kirk and the aftermath? Because the aftermath hadn't occurred yet. 2 or 3 hours later, he was driving in an SUV. Remember that it wasn't announced that Charlie Kirk had passed away until Trump announced it at 2:40. So that's almost 3 o'clock, 3 hours afternoon. So the book was published within minutes of the announcement that he had died. Now that's impossible. You couldn't get it approved in 5 minutes. Write this book in another minute and get it published 2 seconds later. It is physically and completely impossible. And to show that this is completely orchestrated, Amazon is saying, oh, no, it's just a mistake. It wasn't really the 9th. It was an error. It was really the 10th. Well, that's the day he died. Well, when? Oh, it was after he died. Yeah, but not after it was announced. Nobody could write a book about Charlie Kirk shooting and the aftermath and have it published within 5 minutes. It is completely impossible. And anyone who has a brain, would know that this is impossible, and it's completely ridiculous to think that Amazon would have an error about the date and then another error because they're like, oops, we said the 10th and that don't work, because they couldn't say the 11th because people were reading the book. They knew it was published and out there and people were reading it. So it definitely was published. So this is complete proof that somebody knew that Charlie Kirk was dying before he died, friends. This is absolute proof. There's no way. Not even AI could do all of this in an hour. So the thing about this is that it's ridiculous to think that this wasn't somehow purposefully orchestrated as a psyop. And I've seen these psyops before. There were certain psyops about the book about Donald Trump being the last president. Somehow people were saying that it was published 100 years before or whatever. I don't know how many years. And then somebody said they went and they tried to find it and they couldn't find it. And I never did know if that was ever resolved. There was the book that supposedly was written by Werner von Braun about Elon going to Mars. Nobody's verified any of this. There was the supposed error in the little bears. I think it was called Bernstein Bears or something. I could be wrong. I didn't follow that too well, but people were talking about that it had changed and they had proof. And like Joel Olstein used to be Joel Osteen or something, and he denied it, but then we went back and his first book was actually the name that was supposed to everybody remembered him by, but now it's changed. We've seen this over and over again. It seems like things just change. Well, they're not changing. It's conspiracies that are being started by the elite. And then they go on and they hire somebody to make a YouTube about it. Look at this conspiracy. Otherwise, we'd never even notice it. And then they start these conspiracies, and then there's these dates and backdatings and all of these things and theories, and it just leads to chaos everywhere. But now, guys, you want to know the real truth about this supposed book that was published a day before it happened. Here it is. Boy, this is really, really good. It says this was all orchestrated. Online frenzy sparked by Anastasia J. Casey's published book, The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, goes viral. Charlie Kirk was shot during an event at the university on September 10th. While the investigation into his assassination is still ongoing, Internet users discovered a book titled The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, a comprehensive account of the Utah Valley University attack, the aftermath, and America's response, written by Anastasia J. Casey. The book was said to have been published on September 9th, just one day before the attack on Charlie in Utah. Once the book surfaced, it quickly circulated online, with users posting it across multiple social media channels. On September 11th, a user on X, formerly Twitter, uploaded a screen recording of the book, captioning it. Okay, this is wild. I spent the $7 so you don't have to. The Shooting of Charlie Kirk by Anastasia J. Casey, published a day before the event on September 9th. I keep having to say this over and over again. Please take a look at these 2 pages. Most of the book is true about the setting, the shot, etc. And then it goes off course of the true events of yesterday, and Charlie lives. Huh? That book doesn't come up on Amazon, but this one does. Published yesterday. Very weird. Also, notice the odd similarity in the author's names. Anastasia J. Casey, and the other book is Casey D. Parsi. Parsi. How is there a 101-page book already released today to replace the one that was released the day before Charlie Kirk was assassinated on Amazon? Doesn't show up on a mobile at this time, only on desktop. Kevin George Anastasia J. Casey. Pseudonyms for who? The author's name, Anastasia J. Casey. Anastasia means resurrection. Next 2 initials are JC. You do the math. What? Are you kidding me? The book overview covered the assassination of Kirk, stating that it took place on September 10th. It further read, through detailed reporting, first-hand testimonies, and careful analysis, Charlie Kirk and the Utah Valley University shooting explores the event from every angle. The chaos on campus, the courageous first responders, and the experiences of those directly affected. It continues. Beyond the incident itself, the book examines the broader social implications, including political polarizations, the rise of campus activism, and the challenges in conversation about safety, free speech, and active responsibility. It was also supposed to delve into Kirk's life, legacy, and influence. While it has been gaining attention across the internet, little is known about the author, Anastasia J. Casey. No verifiable information about her background or previous works have surfaced, adding to the curiosity and speculation surrounding the book. But remember that other name, the other author? So there's Anastasia, which means resurrection, JC. And then we have Casey D. Parsi. Parsi can be going back to the Italian name for Paris or French or something. Or it can be a Hindu word which can mean a fairy or a beautiful angel. Like a very, well, a fairy or an angel. They're kind of like invisible spiritual beings or something. So I think that goes along with the idea of Anastasia, which I think there was a cartoon movie about that.
Charlie Kirk presidency 15 years from now?
Oh, no.
No?
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying myself, but this is going to get really nasty. Everyone listen to this. I just hope you understand. They're going to be coming after us. They're going to be following us in the middle of the night. They're going to be breaking into our houses. You think I'm joking. They are going to be violent. That you will not be able to walk the streets of the MAGA hat without your physical health be put in jeopardy. And I hope it doesn't get that way. I hope that this clip gets unearthed and everything's like wonderful. I hope that the country comes together and we have a beautiful Unitarian healing moment in September.
Anyway, guys, yeah, we're getting close to an hour here. I better just close it there. There's a bunch more stuff that I wanted to cover. But I think we've proved the point here that there's something going on with no ambulances. He's whisked away. They take his coffin. We never get to see. Remember Osama bin Laden? They say they got him, right? And then what they do? They cremated him right away, right? So nobody could prove it. And then there were reports that he had died of liver cancer or something, or pancreas failure or something years before. So they manipulate us. Everything's a hoax. And I don't know. There are a lot of reasons why they do it. There are a lot of birds they get with one stone. But if you ask me, anyone who's doing this to the American people or the world, and they've been doing it for, I think, thousands of years. I really do. A couple of thousand years. I think this has been the apostasy. And really the whole point is that because they hate Jesus Christ, this is what happened. They convened a Sanhedrin, but it had no authority from the Lord. And they've been lying and manipulating and taking over the banks and all the things that's been going on in the world. The judge system and, you know, the medical system. All of it is a fraud, and some of you don't even believe me, and that's the worst part, that you are literally oblivious. But I gave you as much as I could today to share this with you and help you see. Many of you already do. My friends probably already know all of this. Let's get the word out because, you know, I keep saying we got to snatch some of these people out of the fire because it's coming. And if we don't wake up, our children cannot wake up, our families and our friends. And if we don't shine our light, you know, it's not going to be good, friends. But just because it's our duty, we should help others. But more than that, we should want to from the bottom of our heart. You know, not walk around in some daze or some ignorant stupor, but we should wake up and realize what's going on and get everyone together and start sharing this information. You know, I have little hope that the entire world is going to go, oh, we figured it out. We're done playing. But you never know. And even if we can't save the whole world, if we can reach one person, it'll be worth it, friends. But I'm going to go ahead and go. Lord loves y'all. His grace and his peace will be with you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.